While that predictable race war seems to be beginning, with Kyle really going off the deep end, seeming like he wants to target all of the people of color. And that even includes Indy, because she's from a diverse background. Wait a minute, I feel like I've said this before. This feels like deja vu. Have I had this same exact conversation? Somehow Kyle Moore wants all the people of color out of the house first. Because he's naming all the names that he doesn't trust. With, I guess, Helena being the last of that. But certainly all the black players are who Kyle Moore wants out. Back to back to back to back to back to back. So yes, no surprise that that Twitter who hyped this man up, that he was a wolf in sheep's clothing. But he wasn't even a wolf. He's not a wolf in this game. Nor is he in sheep's clothing. It's more like a hood. Sorry, I was just having some deja vu, like I've talked about this exact same thing before. I swear I knew this exact thing was going to happen this season if casting didn't do their job right. I mean, if BB Canada's this bad, I can only imagine what BB24 is going to be after the cookout last season, and how the black players are going to have to be miserable in that game like they were miserable for most of the first 22 seasons. I think it's not going to happen because production is terrible and CBS is dumb as hell. The only way to fix the Big Brother franchise for these next couple of seasons is the less white people, the better. And all the people on Facebook could be upset with me with that statement. Oh well. I mean, I'd say you can kiss my ass, but my ass is too nice and you're not worthy. So what I say is the less white people casted for BB24, the better. In my opinion, it should only be 5 or 6 white people and about 4 or 5 black people. And then we need to have true diversity, and the other 6 or 7 players need to be Asian or Latino or Middle Eastern or Native American. There is so much diversity in the United States that let's actually see diversity. How about? Because I think that's the only way to fix this mess and to evolve the game right. Because if not, we're just going to be stuck with black versus white for the foreseeable future. And I don't think that makes for good feeds. And I don't think anybody wants to watch that because it's triggering for some. It's masochism for others. It sucks. It just sucks. If this race war continues to build, well, you might as well just go back and watch my Big Brother Canada 10 videos. Because the race war is what turned me off of that season. And it's basically the exact same thing. If you thought the first 2 weeks of this game were bad, get excited for the race war. I've already talked about Kyle and his illogicalness, him going off of a racial bias in my last update video before the Law and Order video. Let's hear what Kyle had to say last night to Michael, who basically listened very closely to Kyle because he's another white dude.
And I'm just thinking through, and I can't get over the fact that Joseph, Monty, and Taylor have extremely strong connections with Indy, Terrence, and Jasmine. Mm-hmm. And I think
Taylor has strong with
So I don't think directly, but I know like Taylor has a strong connection with Monty and Joseph, which could bridge the gap.
He's making up lies like Taylor's close to people like Indy and Jasmine, which is not the case. White players going back in the wild to this kind of gameplay is so old, and yet they always do it. Kyle's had 2 different reasons now as to why he wants to go to the end with all white players, and both of them have made no sense. The first one I've already talked about. He wants to take out Monty and Joseph soon because they are the biggest threats to his game in competitions. Then Michael goes and wins his 4th competition. The man he wants to work to the closest. Make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. You know it doesn't make sense. There's still some diehards in the comments that act like they don't know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. This makes no logical sense. It's all racial bias. Somehow Joseph and Monty are great at these competitions, but not Michael, who's won them literally all. He's won them all. He's won 4 competitions, which is 4 more than half of the house. So then Kyle changes his tune and is worried about a cookout forming between all of the diverse people in the game.
I do not mind if Daniel goes. Like, he has not been someone that I've trusted in this game, but that possibility of those 6 with that background, I mean, it looks very similar to the cookout with a very diverse background. I mean, they've all expressed why they're in this game. Like Joseph, more Middle Eastern representation in TV. Like Indy, there's never been a Brazilian contestant or winner.
Yeah.
Right? Like, everyone has those strong whys that all coincide. Where I look at our alliance and it's like, it was great because it was based out of necessity and our backs were against the wall, and that's what brought us together.
Yeah.
Take away that necessity or the fear of, like, risk of a bigger alliance out there. Like,
Kyle's really out here saying diversity is scary, scary diversity. He's taking this white versus minority approach to a whole new awful level. An approach that also makes no sense because only one white player has gone home, and that white player, Pooch, is the only white player to be on the block in the first 4 weeks. So Kyle's newest argument, much like his old argument, is illogical and just massive racial bias. And Michael seems almost pretty much on board. Michael is the new HOH. The plan still seems to be backdoor Daniel, unless Daniel and Kyle are picked for veto and win veto. Then Michael would maybe target Monty or Joseph if he puts up Monty, Joseph, and Terrence as pawns. Kyle's never really brought this all-white plan to Turner or Brittany. It's really only been between Kyle and Michael. And they know Daniel would be on board because he has nobody in this game now with Nicole out. I don't have any faith in Turner to go against it because he is an extremely passive player. Brittany is really the only hope to stop a race war completely, but we've yet to really see her with a backbone, so who knows what she would do. I do think production wants Daniel out next. I think I've been saying that. It seemed like the most logical thing from the way production edited some of the episodes, but we'll have to see what actually goes on with this plan. If the race war starts even earlier than it makes sense for Michael to do, Michael is the HOH. Michael could be using this week to better his game, but he seems to want to only listen to Kyle, who's trying to better the game for him and Alyssa. Daniel's been the person targeting Michael over the past week, throwing out Michael's name, saying Michael's going to win the game. Meanwhile, Monty and Joseph want to be very loyal to the leftovers and take them to Final 7. This is also why I always say on the Survivor podcast to fan guy Mike Aspen that the white players dictate the social dynamics of these games, because until, especially on Big Brother, more white players want diverse alliances that they actually want to work with. We have this diverse alliance, and Joseph and Monty are on board getting it to Final 7, but then you have Kyle, who's already trying to get rid of them, and Michael on board to do so, and they could probably easily get Turner on board to do so. So the white players will always continue to dictate if this game could ever actually evolve beyond this. Kyle is so stuck on the race war that today he told Michael that if they really want to go to 7, hey, at least it's still 4-3, meaning 4 white people versus the minorities in that alliance. He's very stuck on this minority versus white thing. And you would think Michael could buy a clue that everybody in the alliance said they were okay going up with the pawn as a pawn. Even Taylor said she would go up again as a pawn if it really was necessary, but Kyle is the only one against it. This is why I can't give Michael any credit for being a good player now, like you all want to praise him to be. He doesn't know how to buy a clue. And I can somewhat understand him wanting to keep Daniel around as a shield if he was actually going to be a valuable ally. And this is where Brittany will make no sense if she is for the race war either, because she's going to go further in a game when she's not close to Kyle. She's the opposite of close to Alyssa, the opposite of close to Daniel. A race war would benefit Brittany none at all. Last time I watched the feeds today, it was still the plan for Michael to probably put up pawns, probably be Joseph, Monty, and Terrence, and then backdoor Daniel and Kyle. It's funny, though, because even Alyssa says that it should be Daniel to go this week. So Kyle's doing all of this planning. Meanwhile, his showmance... Well, Kyle's doing all this planning so he doesn't go on the block, and him and Daniel don't have to go on the block this week. Meanwhile, his showmance, Alyssa, is saying, yeah, backdoor Daniel this week, too. Kyle can't even get her in check because his game is starting to be all over the place. Kyle's also made a lot of final twos already. Has one with Michael, one with Alyssa, one with Turner. A type of gameplay we've seen over and over fail at the end. If you make it to the end, you have a bitter jury because you've told everybody your final two. This is the Tyler game. And as much as overrated as I find Tyler to be, he was a far better gamer than Kyle has shown to be this past week since he's been pussy whipped, I guess we'll call him, but they ain't even having sex, so I don't know why he's so whipped. Anyway, this is my quick update for today. I'm going to be traveling soon. I don't know exactly what days I will be able to do updates over the next 2 weeks, but I will still try to bring you consistent updates. Let's just hope the race war somehow gets nipped in the bud, but Kyle's been planning it really hardcore over the past few days that it seems almost inevitable because Michael never takes control of his own game, despite him should be the biggest target in the game and will be towards the end because it's an easy excuse to get out Michael in a few rounds that he always wins these competitions. And Michael knows that Joseph and Monty are loyal to him, so it makes no sense for them to go right now for his game. But I guess Michael's own racial bias wants to only listen to Kyle and not Monty and Joseph. Whatever.